For decades, they've been regional powerhouses on opposite sides of the Middle East's most bitter conflicts. One, the guardian of Islam's holiest sites, the other, the world's only Jewish state. On the surface, they're sworn enemies, but behind the scenes, something remarkable has been going on. Quiet handshakes, shared intelligence, and the old saying that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And now, a historic peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia is actually on the table. A deal that could reshape the entire region. So, are we witnessing the dawn of a new era? Or is this a strategic trap with dangerous consequences? The answer isn't simple. It's tangled up in a web of ambition, fear, and some seriously high-stakes geopolitics. Section 1. The Secret Handshake, A History of Covert Cooperation. To really get what this deal means, you have to look at the history. Officially, Saudi Arabia has never recognized Israel. For over 75 years, the two have been in a state of formal hostility, with their public narratives defined by the Arab-Israeli conflict. But politics, especially in the Middle East, makes for some very strange bedfellows. While the world saw animosity, a different story was unfolding in the shadows. The real catalyst wasn't a peace treaty, but a shared threat that became bigger than their own differences. Iran. Starting in the 2000s and ramping up over the last decade, Iran's growing influence and nuclear ambitions started to redraw the political map. For both Israel and Saudi Arabia, an empowered Iran felt like an existential threat. This shared fear became the quiet foundation of a pragmatic and very secret relationship. Intelligence agencies started talking, and security officials held clandestine meetings. They began cooperating on everything from counterterrorism to cyber defense, all while keeping up a public front of hostility. This covert partnership proved that a relationship wasn't just possible, but good for both of them, and it paved the way for the audacious proposal now on the table, to finally bring that relationship into the light. Section 2. What Saudi Arabia wants, the Vision 2030 Gambit. So, what does each side want? For Saudi Arabia, this isn't just about security, it's about survival. At the heart of Riyadh's motivation is one of the most ambitious national projects in modern history, Vision 2030. Led by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Vision 2030 is a multi-trillion-dollar plan to move the Saudi economy beyond oil. It means building futuristic cities like Neom, diving into high-tech sectors, and becoming a global hub for tourism and investment. But all of that requires one critical thing: regional stability. War and conflict are poison to the long-term foreign investment the kingdom desperately needs. A normalization deal with Israel is seen as a key to unlocking that stability. It would open up direct trade and investment with Israel's top-tier tech sectors. Israeli know-how in everything from water desalination to agricultural tech could be a huge boost for Saudi Arabia's development goals. But Riyadh is playing for much more. In exchange for peace, they're asking the United States for some unprecedented commitments. This includes a formal NATO-style mutual defense treaty that would obligate the U.S. to defend Saudi Arabia if it's attacked. They also want access to America's most advanced weapons, and most controversially, support for a domestic civilian nuclear program. For the Saudis, this is a three-way bargain. Peace with Israel gets them a powerful American security blanket and the keys to a high-tech future. Section 3. What Israel wants. The ultimate prize of normalization. For Israel, a peace deal with Saudi Arabia is the ultimate diplomatic prize. It's more than just another treaty. It would fundamentally change its place in the Middle East. Since its founding, Israel has been largely isolated in its own neighborhood. The 2020 Abraham Accords were a huge step, normalizing relations with the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco, but Saudi Arabia is the symbolic heart of the Islamic world. A formal peace deal would effectively end the Arab-Israeli conflict as we've known it for generations, and open the door for other Muslim-majority nations to follow. The strategic upside is just as big. A formal alliance with Riyadh would create a powerful, unified front against their shared rival, Iran. It would build a regional security structure that combines Israeli military muscle with Saudi diplomatic and financial power, what Israeli leaders have called a quantum leap for stability. Economically, the opportunities are enormous. Israeli tech companies would get access to one of the world's biggest and fastest growing markets, and Saudi money could flow into Israel's innovation scene. The vision is a new Middle East, connected by trade and technology instead of divided by conflict. But getting there means solving the single most explosive issue in the whole equation. Section 4, the Palestinian question, the unmovable obstacle. That brings us to the issue that has torpedoed peace talks for decades, the Palestinian question. Historically, Saudi Arabia has been a vocal supporter of the Palestinian cause. Its official policy, the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative, offered Israel full normalization but only in exchange for a full withdrawal from occupied territories and the creation of an independent Palestinian state. While the threat from Iran shifted priorities for a while, the Palestinian issue is now back at the forefront. Saudi officials have repeatedly said there can be no normalization without a credible and irreversible path to a Palestinian state. In fact, Saudi Arabia has recently been very active on this front. In July 2025, it co-chaired a UN conference with France specifically aimed at building momentum for a two-state solution. The Saudi foreign minister was crystal clear, stating that normalization with Israel is very much tied to the establishment of the Palestinian state. This puts Riyadh on a direct collision course with the political reality in Israel. The current Israeli government has firmly rejected a two-state solution, and its recent actions have only hardened that position. This is the core paradox of the deal. Saudi Arabia can't afford to normalize relations without a major win for the Palestinians. But Israel's government likely can't survive politically if it gives one. Bridging this gap is the monumental task facing the American mediators. Section 5, the strategic trap, unintended consequences. This is where the promise of a historic deal runs into the risk of a strategic trap. The very things that make the deal appealing are also what make it so dangerous. First, that U.S.-Saudi defense treaty. For the Saudis, it's a security guarantee. But for the U.S., it's a massive commitment that could automatically pull Washington into future regional wars. Critics warn this could embolden Saudi Arabia to take bigger risks, knowing the U.S. military has its back. Then there's the nuclear issue. Saudi Arabia says its ambitions are for peaceful energy, but in a region this volatile, the fear of nuclear proliferation is real. Given that Saudi leaders have said they would seek a bomb if Iran gets one, providing them with sensitive technology is a terrifying gamble that could trigger a regional arms race. Finally, how would Iran react? While the Saudi-Israeli alliance seems like a way to contain Tehran, it could backfire. It's true that Saudi Arabia has recently pursued de-escalation with Iran, including high-level meetings, showing a more complex strategy. But faced with a formal U.S.-backed alliance between its two biggest rivals, a cornered Iran might become more aggressive, not less. It could accelerate its nuclear program or unleash its proxies, starting the very war the deal is supposed to prevent. The road to peace is never a straight line, and the stakes here couldn't be higher. If you think understanding these geopolitical shifts is important, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It helps us bring you more in-depth analysis on the stories shaping our world. And let us know in the comments. Do you think a deal is possible, or is the Palestinian issue just too big of a hurdle to overcome? So, hope or a strategic trap? The honest answer is it's both. The potential for a new Middle East based on cooperation and growth is real. An Israeli-Saudi peace deal could be a transformative event, creating a powerful bloc for moderation. But the risks are just as real. A deal built on a shaky foundation, one that ignores the core grievances of the Palestinians or introduces destabilizing weapons, could easily shatter. It could drag the U.S. into new conflicts and set off a chain reaction that leaves the region more volatile than before. The final outcome depends on whether leaders in Riyadh, Jerusalem, and Washington can find the political will to make tough choices. It's a question of whether the incredible promise of peace is enough to overcome decades of distrust, and whether they can find a path forward that offers a future for everyone involved, including the Palestinians. The world is watching to see if this is truly a new dawn, or just the calm before another storm.